everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for episode 10 of Get Real with Jack and Cindy. I'm Cindy Morrison.
I'm Jack Wallace. Welcome, everybody.
So our sales meeting the other day,
Yes.
we got to talking a lot about types of listings
Yes.
and the pros and the cons.
Yes.
And we definitely want to tackle that today.
Absolutely. I think that it's really, the one that we mostly do is called exclusive right to sell, which sounds like that would be only we get to sell it. But what that actually means is we're the only ones who are listing it. And then that means that anybody can come in that's in the multi-list as a buyer's agent, and that they can bring a buyer, and then we work together to get the property sold. So that's where that is. And then there is also a form where you can do it like, and this doesn't happen very often, but where two brokerages can co-broker a listing.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, it's not very common, but you can do that. And basically the idea with that is that two different brokerages have the listing, and that whoever brings the buyer in, one will pay the other. I mean, it's very confusing, but I've not seen it in a long time, but that is one that you can do. And then there's one that is it's very hot topic right now.
You see steam coming out of Jack's ears right now.
Well, I just don't I'm trying desperately. I'm not trying to come down on anybody. I mean, everybody has a right to their opinion, but it's basically firm exclusive, which I've done firm exclusive. And there are things that are good about firm exclusive, which means that only people within our brokerage can sell, or or the buyer can be the buyer's agent. So it's only listing and buyer's agent can only be within that company.
And that kind of a pocket listing was what it used to be called, right? But
a pocket listing is one you don't have yet, and that you're kind of like somebody would list if there was interest. So I mean, I guess in a way, and that's usually when I've done firm exclusive, because then like someone in my firm says, you know what, I've got this buyer who really wants this, and I say, well, I've got a seller who really isn't that interested in listing, but if they got the right price, they would be interested. And then that came together, and then that became the firm exclusive listing because it was sold in that way. And that's,
I've seen people do that too, and they don't want a for sale sign out front for whatever reason.
Yeah, and people have different,
go under the radar.
People have different reasons. There are situations where I think that can be great. I mean, I do think there are situations absolutely where that can be great. I don't think there are very many situations where that can be great, because I think that, I mean, we have a great company with great agents. I would be thrilled to work with any one of the agents in my company, but I would really be thrilled to work with a lot of agents in a lot of other companies, because they are great agents. They just don't happen to hold their license at the same company I do. So I don't really understand how I'm going to convince the public that it's in their best interest for me to exclude those other people from selling their house or bringing their qualified buyers to see their house, that somehow that makes it better for the seller.
So let me kind of give you some background of where all this is coming from. There is another brokerage that has been making a really big deal about people coming on board to do firm exclusives with them so they can keep it all in-house.
Right. And I even understand the argument they're making. I just think there needs to be a counterpart to that argument.
Because you're only, think of it, if you're only going to be in front of, like Chinooth & Co. and his 700 plus agents. You're only going to be in front of those 700 instead of the 5,000 or 6,000 that we have in the Tulsa area, just to give you an example.
Right.
So you really want as many eyeballs looking at your property as you can, because that right person is going to be out there to buy your property, and there may be multiple.
And I think the theory is that we have so many great agents, which they do. They have great agents. I'm not saying they don't, but we have so many great agents that there's no need to go anywhere else, because our agents are so good that we can work together and we can get you the best deal. And you don't have to show it as much. You don't have, well, you're showing it to the people that they're bringing.
Mhm.
So what's the difference between that and showing it to the people that other agents bring? Um, you are actually cutting off advertising to only within your firm.
So I couldn't put it on my Facebook. I couldn't tell other agents about it. It's only going to be in like our Facebook group for our specific brokerage.
Yeah, and when I've worked with, I mean, there's been times I've worked with huge national companies that are huge, high end auction companies who've come here to auction high end properties that we've had as a co-list with us, and that's when we're talking about co-list.
Mhm.
That was a co-list with us, um, and they actually bring someone in to live here for a couple of weeks before the auction to try to get the word out to every possible buyer
Mhm.
within the Tulsa community, within the surrounding, within they would even go in appointments to Kansas to talk to people that they thought might be a good buyer for these properties. So again, the reach to the potential demographic that would be buying your house to me is really important. I'm not, again, trying to come down on anybody. I'm just trying to say, time out. I don't really understand that. And I would love to have this conversation with somebody that is saying that and explain to me in a way that I'm not understanding. But I've done this for a long time. I always think your best interest is to have other people bringing their buyers. uh, even if, okay, let's say that I had somebody that ended up bringing a buyer or to my seller, like we talked about earlier.
Mhm.
I would also say to my seller, do you want to put it on the market for a few days before we sign on this so that we can see just if there's somebody else out there that really wants this? I mean, to me that's really confusing.
Yeah. So the two times that I really love to use a firm exclusive, and I talked about one of these back a couple of weeks ago. I spend a lot of time on marketing and
Sure.
getting all that, pictures and video and all of that, all the things. And you have to, when you sign your contract, it has to be on MLS in like 48 hours.
Mhm.
Well, that doesn't give me very long. So a lot of times I'll sign a firm exclusive with them
Sure.
while I'm getting all that together before I do the coming soon and going live. So I found that that really helps, and they understand it's not going to be in front of everyone until we go live. But the other one is sometimes when somebody is around Christmas, they know they're going to have a lot of family coming. I had one where they were like, if you end up showing it, and some Chenoweth
No.
agents want to show it, but in January we want to go in front of everyone.
Well, I think about it this way. I'm sure that there have been some very successful arranged marriages. I'm sure there have.
Yeah.
Do you want to have an arranged marriage? I don't. I mean, I just think there's a difference between a fix up and an arranged marriage.
Hmm.
To me, it feels a little more like an arranged marriage than it does a fix up or going on Tinder. I'm just saying. I just think that this is like, let's just get down to the
I
basic.
love it. I love it.
I think you have to think about that. We are in a competitive market, and I love the idea of exclusivity. I love the idea of, cutting down, but like, you can do it where the people they have to be qualified ahead of time.
Mhm.
There's ways to reduce the pool to where it's an acceptable pool of who's going to walk through your door without doing it that way. That's all
Right.
I'm saying. And if people want to do it that way and it works for them and they're happy with it, then more power to them.
But you want to make sure that they know the pros and the cons, that an agent or a brokerage is not doing this because it's what's best for the
Yeah.
brokerage as opposed to what's best for your client. So as the
And I'm sure I'm
client,
upsetting a lot of the people within our brokerage who want to do that. I mean, this isn't just us picking on anybody else.
oh no,
I mean, I'm sure there are people. I just would like it really explained to me by somebody why. I've watched these other people say why they're saying, and I don't get it. I don't, to me, it does not make as much sense as everyone's trying to make it. I don't, again, think it's evil. I don't think that it's the worst thing in the world, but I think for our business, I just think you want more pool,
And it's a
a
step
pool of
up.
demographic buyers.
Yeah. And I think it's a step up from for sale by owner that's not on MLS, and the only people that are going to see that your house is for sale is if they drive by.
Mhm.
Again, very very small pool as opposed to getting it on
Mhm.
MLS and letting more people see it. But yeah, I'm
But
with
even
you.
like when you look at for sale by owners, statistically, what they make is so much less than what they make when they put it on multi-list. Whenever you go to,
Because you're again going to that
because you're
bigger
going to that
pool
bigger
of
pool of
people.
people. You know, I mean, we're going through a thing right now where we don't know where the MLS is going to end up. We don't know how all this is going to go. But I mean, we are hopefully going to stay cooperative.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're going to where we're not going to be cooperative, I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like in New York City, which a lot of my friends live in New York City, a lot of my friends live very high end property in New York City. They don't have a multi list. They have each other's agencies, but they are cooperative. They don't exclude them like that. So I'm just trying to understand it.
Yeah.
I just think it's like and I guess I've been a listing agent for a long time mostly. And so when I think about that dynamically, not to mention, I love my friends in the other companies. I do. I
Oh, of
love my
course,
friends.
of
I mean,
course.
I love being able to call them and say, "Hey, this is great." I mean, so to me, that's where I am. I think it's an interesting time. I think everyone's trying to figure out what's happening. To me, in a time when we are sort of having people look at us as not being as cooperative and as forthright as we should be, that I would like it to be more. This is how we do it. We open it
Transparent.
up transparently to other agents, and let's do it that way. That's my, again, not trying to come down on anyone. I think everyone has their opinion. Everyone has the right to do what they want to do. But that's my argument on this.
Clearly it was a hot button issue, and just getting your property on MLS I don't think is the answer, because you can sell your property and just stick a sign out front. You can also sell your property and pay a flat fee to get it on MLS for more people to see it. But I really do think all of the other things that an agent brings, marketing it to, and not just Chenoweth and Cohen, but
Right.
all of the agencies out there.
And there's a big thing, networking in the office.
Mhm.
You do, I mean, statistically, you may sell more within your company because I'm sitting shoulder to shoulder and I'm talking to you in my office. So I think that some of that could happen naturally without it even being officially. But if you're telling me you're going to limit the marketing of my property to only within a small office of people, and that somehow is going to make it better, I'm not following that.
Yeah,
I'm just not
either.
following it.
And I did my very first $1 million listing. I sold it to Sonia in the office. I was like, "Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
excited! I just got this listing." She's like, "Oh, I have somebody who's looking just for that." And
Absolutely.
like literally, we sold it.
The magic of
right
the
there.
office. No, I
Yeah.
think that happens a lot. And like you said, in another podcast that you do the coming soon a lot.
Mhm.
Coming soon makes sense to me because coming soon says ain't nobody going to look at it, but I'm going to start scheduling people to look at it. And when I schedule it, anybody from any company that has a qualified buyer can come look. And then we let the bidding begin.
Yep.
That makes sense.
It works. I swear by it.
And you can vet them, you can do whatever. I mean, like I get that. I'm not following. The dots are not connecting for me. I'm trying to understand it. And I'm not a smart person, but I'm not a dumb person.
Well, it just sounds very self-serving unless there is a answer in there for the seller.
I don't even understand how it's self-serving. I don't even understand why.
Because then they can keep it within both sides within their company.
Oh, well, I mean, that's good for the company, but agent to
that's what I'm
agent, I
saying,
don't.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm confused by it, and I'm probably upsetting somebody. I don't know. I mean, I don't mean to. Again, I
You're
really
getting real.
don't. But it's like I just think this is a real conversation that should be had because it's suddenly. I mean, is this a response to what's happening? Because if this is a response to what's happening, then we have a much bigger conversation to be had.
And I think that's one reason why it became really a hot topic in our meeting, was because, and we've talked about this in another podcast, the settlement where we're at some point no longer going to put the buying agent compensation on MLS,
Mm-hmm.
and there's still a lot to be worked out with all that. But that's what it sounded to me was self-serving for a brokerage to just say, okay, well, hey, we can talk about all that compensation in house if we sell it within our
Well, and I
company.
think and every brokerage has had some kind of there's a little bit of like you know there's encouragement
Hmm.
to sell our own listings. Of course. I mean, I think that makes perfect sense and I totally understand that. I just don't understand how if that happens, great. I don't understand how you go about making it where this is the greatest latest new thing
Mm-mm.
to do. I don't. I mean, I don't. I've
It
worked in the
sounds like a
high
knee-jerk
and I've
reaction to
worked in the
what's going
high
on.
end market a
Mhm.
lot. Like that's a whole lot of what I've worked in and what I've done and I understand the needs of high end people and the differences, you know, privacy and and not wanting their life disrupted. I get all that. But I think there's a way to do that where you're still getting the best of everybody. So
Yep.
again, everybody out there who is a great agent and working, I want to work with you. I
Hmm.
don't want to exclude you from I mean that's I think we have to start really fighting to remind ourselves that we are the multiple list service is a cooperative operation
Hmm.
and it works when we do it with dignity and respect. So for me, if I have a listing, I want anyone to sell it. Please. I want
Hmm.
anyone who will get the best price and will get the best thing for my seller. I would like you to sell my property.
Because we are basically investing in your property when we take the pictures and do the videos and do the money that we spend, but we don't get paid until you get paid at closing.
Right.
So it's
Absolutely.
in our best interest to get it in front of as many people as possible to hopefully get it sold faster for you.
And I our job is to sell your house.
Hmm.
Our job is to sell your house. And it's not just to get it sold so that it benefits us. It's to get it sold so that it benefits you because at the end of the day, you're the one taking the money. And so, I mean, if that is what you want, if you come to me and said, I just want people in your firm, I may argue with you a little bit, but if that's what you really want, and for then gung ho, let's go.
Hmm.
But
It
I don't
doesn't
think
make
that's what
sense.
you want. I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
I
I
use
just
it as a
don't.
tool, but it's not the be all end all. You know what I mean?
And again, back to having a pocket listing. A pocket listing does not mean firm exclusive because I can have a pocket listing and I can have somebody from 5 other companies that I go, hey, I've got something, and I've done this a lot.
Hmm.
I've got something that I don't know if you have anybody, and I can't tell you, 9 out of 10 times those calls do bring somebody,
Hmm.
but probably 6 out of 10 times they're not from our company.
Right. Right.
So that
I
isn't a
agree.
firm exclusive. That's just knowledge of somebody saying, I don't want to put it on the market. I don't want to go through that right this minute. I mean, you know, the truth
But
is,
if you have
I always
somebody,
say to them, why? Why don't you want to put it on the market?
yeah.
I mean, if you want to sell it, you're going to get the best price if you put it on the market. Now, some people, you know, that are in the medical profession or the legal profession or celebrity. I mean,
Hmm.
like there are privacy issues that I understand, and
Hmm.
and and we can do that. But again, I think there's workarounds on that.
Yep, I agree. So when we were sitting beside each other in the meeting the other day, I literally we were listening to all this, and I texted Jack, and I'm like, "That's what we need to do our next podcast on."
And I'm sorry I'm coming off really passionate about that. I'm not sorry for being passionate about it. And again, it's not an attack. It is not an attack. It's just I'm trying to understand if this is, you know, there's been trends in our business that I've not understood, but over time I've come to understand. But this one has sort of floated around for a while, and I've never really seen where it's this great thing. You know, I really don't. Now I think it's great to work with people within your company because that is who, you know, we have a luxury networking group and we
Mhm.
go every 2 weeks and we look at properties of each other's and we help each other to get those figured out. And it's oftentimes buyers and sellers come together from that. That's an internal networking that comes from the company. That's great. If that's what happens from any company, if that's what happens, then that's great. I
Mhm.
love that. And I think that's important. But if all I'm doing is those people and that's my whole campaign,
Yeah,
I don't get it.
yeah. like I said, sounds more self-serving for what all's going on
Mhm.
with the commissions. And how I wish this had all played out was that not only was the buyer's agent compensation on there, but it also said with the listing agent their compensation. Because I've
Mhm.
been surprised at some agents that have gotten 7% for the listing and they only offer 2 to the buyer's agent.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, and
I would rather be more
it's on the
transparent.
it's on the listing now, and so I think all of it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be very interesting because I think what's happening, if it goes the way it's going, I don't think it's in the best interest of the public. I don't think it's going to be as transparent as it already is. I think what will happen is that it will be more transparent within our business.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're going to know a whole lot more of what the inside scoop is. And the other thing too is the way it's written, it's basically saying that we negotiate with the seller. So if you're the buying agent now, it's really stating basically your job is to
Work with the
negotiate with the
seller that
seller,
somebody else is
which used
flying it.
to, that was a protected wall. There was a wall there between where the listing agent was the person who was your contact for that seller. You didn't call that person or talk to that person, but it's an interesting
Yeah.
dynamic the way it's written. So we'll see how that all goes down. But
And
anyway,
if you want to know more about the settlement and sort of what we think about it, I can't remember which episode that was, but it's one of our previous
mhm,
episodes. We dive into it, and there are still a lot of unknowns.
yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how different brokerages and different agents navigate these waters as they begin to change.
And it
But
is funny too. I mean, I was in New York, and that's what everybody wanted to talk about. I mean, it's
yeah,
just it's a very, I mean, in some ways, I think it's going to be a game changer for sure. But I just don't know what game it's going to change.
yeah,
I mean,
and
I don't.
who that
Yeah, and
benefits.
I don't think anybody does. So.
And that's another thing to keep in mind about getting your property in front of the biggest pool
Mhm,
of people. Um, uh, it's always been negotiable. The commissions, it's
mhm.
always been negotiable. But and I sit in listing appointments, and they'll say, "Oh, well, I don't have to pay that anymore." Well, if you want agents to show your house again, if you want to get in front of the most
Mhm.
people possible, you're still going to want to pay that commission.
Well, I have a degree in marketing from TU, and the one thing I will say is that marketing, 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 marketing
Mhm.
is what sells your house.
Yep.
And if you're expecting the buyer's agent to market your house to their buyer for free, why? I mean, I just don't understand how that anybody. I mean, I was talking to another agent today who was asking my advice on commission structure, and my whole thing was what what are the houses around that listing offering for compensation?
Mhm.
And if they're offering 2.5 and that's what's normal, then okay, that's normal. But if they're all offering 3 and your seller wants to come in at 2 or none, they just need to be aware that that's their competition
Mhm.
because that's who's out selling their house. So I just think, to me, it just, yes, you don't have to. You never had to. You never had to do anything. You really didn't. I mean, but you can't sign a contract and then say, I don't have to.
Right.
So when you sign that contract, you better be prepared to do it because you are signing a contract. And that's where people are sort of mistaking that. They're thinking that they can now say, well, the law has changed. The law has not changed yet.
Mhm.
And the contract is still in place. And when you sign the contract, because you know, the person who is showing your house has an agreement. You have a legal agreement. You've said, I am going to compensate you for this
Right.
in this way. And they are showing other properties, and they could go to somebody who would actually compensate them. And, it's like, would you like to not be paid for your job?
Mhm.
I mean, no. So, anyways, we're getting off on that tangent, but the
But
biggest
I
thing
wanted to,
is,
if you're
yeah,
talking about getting your property in front of the biggest pool, it kind of goes along those same
yeah.
lines.
Yeah. So I mean, and maybe you do, maybe the firm exclusive is that they're only doing a really small commission.
Mhm.
I mean, if
Could
that's
be.
the case, okay, I can understand. I still don't think it's
Still
the
don't get
best interest,
it.
but if that's the direction they're going in,
Mhm.
okay. I mean, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Interesting.
Because if I have a buyer that I could take to any other house and get another payday,
Mm-hmm.
why would I not do that?
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know. But anyways, if you have thoughts, opinions, or if you're mad at me, I would love to talk to you. I really would. I mean,
Mhm.
I am certainly not the expert on all of this. I just have an opinion, just like
Mhm.
you do. And I respect the other professionals. Some of the people that are doing this, I really, really respect. It is not that I am not respectful of them. I just don't understand this. I don't
Yeah.
understand how it's supposed to be. Um, and I would put our company up against any company and say I would be fine if this is the way we're going. Then I'm in a company that I'm comfortable with that, but I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
So
Well, that's how we get real here.
get real.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great week, and we will talk with you again next Thursday.
See you guys. Bye.